Before anyone asks, this is Forbidden Stars coming from Fantasy Flight Games, and I had it set up and couldn't bring myself to put it away just yet. So it's going to sit here and taunt us throughout the episode. Hi everyone, welcome to Watch It Played Table Talkback. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this episode we're going to take a look at your responses to the question of how we value game awards, both for the hobby in general and for each of us as individuals. So the first response I have here from AnyDay1009 says, a game award might make a game more appealing to buy, just to see what the buzz is about. But it can raise my expectations of it a little too high. For example, I tried Splendor the other day, having known it for winning the Golden Geek Award and being nominated for the Spiel des Jahres, but I didn't think it was all that great. I think you raise an interesting question here about expectations and maybe impressions as well. When I traveled to BGG-Con last year, 2014, I had a game, Red 7. Actually, my friend had it. He taught it to me on the flight down. And I just thought right away, this is going to be a great convention game. Because it was new, so people would be curious about it. It was small, easy to carry around. And it was simple. It was easy to teach. So it was just going to be that perfect filler kind of game. So I was playing Red 7 a lot, and there was a lot of pictures of me playing it, and people were jokingly calling it Rod 7 after a while. And it was there available for purchase at the convention as well, so people were buying it and playing it. And I think it created the impression that this was Rodney's favorite new game. This was, the next Forbidden Stars or something. It created an impression about the game, maybe a heightened one, so that some people who picked it up and played it were like, that's it? That's all this is? Because they were expecting more from it, because of the impression or hype that was sort of swirling around the game. And I think awards can do the same thing. They can set our expectations so high for the game that the game can really do nothing but disappoint us in the end. Arrakis1 writes, I'd never heard of the Spiel des Jahres Awards until last year, and I've been gaming for decades. And Peranti wrote, ah yes, the renowned Spiel des Jahres Awards. I like both of these comments because, well, they make light of the awards somewhat, but also I think it helps us to remember that, well, some of us may be trying to soak up every little bit of industry news. I have to wonder if the vast majority of hobby gamers are even aware that these awards exist, could name winners from previous years. And I think knowing that may help put our reactions to these awards a bit better into context and what the exact significance of the awards might really be. Now, on the flip side of that, we have this comment from Daniel Merrill who writes, I don't wear brand name clothes, but I know that fashion shows today direct the kinds of styles and colors available for me to wear tomorrow. In the same vein, I don't pay much attention to game awards when I'm playing or buying a game. But I know that they have a pretty big impact on trends in the industry and will influence which games get published. So while game awards don't influence my purchasing choices, they do influence what is available for me to purchase. I thought this was a great analogy because a number of people in the comments remarked that I don't care about these awards, I don't care who wins, it doesn't influence my purchasing habits. And I believe that that's true, I'm not questioning that, but I think it's interesting to note that these awards can have an impact on what games potentially get to market. The gaming industry is an industry, it's a business, and publishers want to sell games that people will buy because that's how they get paid, right? So these awards can have an influence on the kinds of games that get published in the future. Now, across all spectrums, probably not, but some trends in general, I would suspect, do get influenced by the people who win these awards. Wynn Zetterberg wrote, I don't know the criteria that any awards use, but I've used prior nominations to weigh how much importance I place on some awards. I enjoy abstract games and I feel that Mensa Select, that's another award system, aligns with my tastes generally. Based off this, it's introduced me to other games that were off my radar. This goes back to what I was saying about in the previous video. You need to understand the context of an award system before you get too heavily invested in your opinions about the nominations and winners. Because as an example, again, the Spiel des Jahres Awards is not meant to nominate the games that are most appreciated by all gamers in the hobby, but instead the games that they believe will be good ambassadors for the hobby, will help bring maybe even non-gamers into it. I thought it would be helpful to share some information about one of the awards, and we have that from one of our video contributions who is part of the Dice Tower Awards voting system. Let's take a look.
Hi, Rodney and Watch It Played viewers. This is Sean. I'm one half of the Dukes of Dice podcast. My co-host Alex and I are both really excited to be voting on this year's Dice Tower Awards. We weren't involved in the nomination process, so we can't really talk about that. But we do take our involvement in the actual voting pretty seriously. We've devoted a lot of game time the last month or so to playing games that have been nominated so we can cast more informed votes. We've also reviewed several of the games in recent weeks, so this includes games like Xia, Legend of a Drift System, Colt Express, the Tuscany expansion for Viticulture, Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and Paperback, amongst a bunch of others. What's nice is that some of these games I wouldn't normally be as inclined to play, and I like that voting on the Dice Tower Awards is kind of pushing me outside of my comfort zone. The fact that both the Dice Tower Awards and the Origin Awards have a broad number of categories is really helpful. It provides some more information other than just what is best overall, and provides focus on exactly what is being evaluated. In general, I think it's really important to understand the preferences of a particular reviewer. The more of their reviews you've seen, heard, or read, the more you're able to take away from subsequent reviews to help you make more informed decisions about game purchases. In the same way, Rodney, I agree with you. I think you're correct that you need to understand the particular tastes and preferences as a whole of the panels that nominate and vote on the various awards. You know, as humans, we like to give awards. We like to acknowledge excellence, whether it's choosing the best pizza in town, whether it's the Academy Awards, or just Employee of the Month. It tends to reinforce certain kinds of behavior and also signals to society when something is, at least in some people's eyes, good. When someone wins an Academy Award, they gain a certain amount of prestige, and that prestige can attach itself to new projects. The same is true with games and their designers. So in addition to increasing sales of a winning game, like you mentioned, audiences that are aware of award winners might be more receptive to future games of those award-winning designers. Is that good? Maybe, maybe not. Just some thoughts. Thanks a lot, Rodney.
Brian Downs writes, the actual winners are the board game fans. This is an entertainment industry. There is a business side and a hobby fan side. And just like professional sports, the championship isn't always won by the best team. So let's enjoy the awards as they bring attention to the hobby and the conversations that they bring. I think this is an interesting point because there is something to be said about how awards help spread the message of board gaming. Our hobby is growing. I think we've seen signs of that, and it's branching out into other hobby areas. There are video game conventions that are now creating bigger and bigger spaces for board gaming to happen there as well. So for these larger media circuits, and definitely video games are larger than board games, if we can offer them ways of talking about our hobby that is distilled down in an easy way to translate, like, hey, we just had awards for the Spiel des Jahres, or the Origins Awards, or the Dice Tower Awards, whatever it is, and a vlogger or blogger for a video game site can sort of latch onto that and have that as a soundbite to talk about, well, it's easier than them trying to dive fully into the hobby and figure out everything there is to know about board gaming before they can actually share and talk about the hobby in some way. So awards do offer this way of summarizing our hobby, and that's why I think some people get annoyed or bothered by it, because they're afraid of the hobby being summarized in a way that doesn't reflect who they are as a gamer. I think it probably helps if we don't get too hung up on worrying that everyone's representing us accurately, and think of the overall, perhaps positive impacts that these impressions can create. Seth Van Orden writes, I feel game awards fulfill a similar purpose to game reviews. They help bring better games to the forefront. I don't end up liking every game that wins these awards, but I do end up liking a much higher percentage of them than your average game. Seth, this is how I feel that awards influence me personally as well. If I'm making a choice between two games, or on the rare occasion where I'm making a blind purchase, if a game has been given an award by a respected awards system, then I may be more inclined to pick it up because I'm playing the odds. There's so many games out there. I tend to believe that if something has won an award, then at least there's been some group of people who have found something in the game that they appreciate and respect. And even though the game may not be a perfect fit for my particular group, I will probably find something in the design that I can appreciate. Bruno Malviera writes, when you're starting to get interested in games, the Spiel des Jahres is a great way for you to look at what else is out there. There's a high chance that your first hobby game was a winner, or even a nominee for this award. So why not look at the others? Bruno, I like this because it's hard to argue with experience. And although I've been skeptical of awards in the past, and particularly the process that they follow to nominate and sometimes vote on them. When I think of the Spiel des Jahres in particular, and how I got back into the hobby after an extended break, Carcassonne was one of the games that I chose. And that won the Spiel des Jahres award and many other awards as well. And although I may not agree with every winner that has been given these in the past, I can't think of too many where I would strongly object to somebody trying it out as a way of learning about our hobby and getting into it. So, although on a case-by-case basis the awards may not reflect me as an individual, I think in broad strokes, they are a pretty good reflection of games that have been successful in bringing people into this hobby. There's one more video response I want to share with you, but before we do that, I have one last comment that was written in that I would like to sort of wrap up with. And this comes from Joel Eddy of Drive-Thru Review. And it's quite an extensive reply, so let's all make fun of Joel for not just shooting a video response rather than making me read this all out. I think awards, like reviews, are of the moment. In a few years, they are largely forgotten. I can name a few Spiel des Jahres winners off the top of my head, but only the really big ones. However, the games I do remember are those that have continued to make an impression on me or my game group, or if a game is still talked about in high regard online. Granted, the award winners and nominees will have a leg up on others in terms of continued visibility, but I have seen several games continue to thrive that have not won any notable awards. The awards provide, at the very best, a good footnote, a marker in time, or just a good jumping off point for discussion and exploration. In summation, they are as meaningful and as meaningless as the Oscars are. Scorsese wasn't nominated for Taxi Driver, and Nicholson wasn't nominated for The Shining, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I think most people would argue that either of those instances are examples of folks at the top of their respective fields. Yet, there they stand with no awards to show for it. Does it matter? Come out with it, Smith. Does it matter? This is the catch, isn't it? If you accept an award and you say, "See, my game is great," what does it mean when your next game doesn't get an award? Does that mean your game wasn't great? So many movies, music, so much art, so many games don't receive awards. What does that mean for them? Does it mean anything? Well, Joel, thanks again for your written response. I wrote one for you, and I'm going to read it right now. I think that awards matter for the reasons that others have highlighted, and as you've mentioned, they inspire discussion. They put games in our mind that might not otherwise have gotten there. But perhaps the most valuable thing they do is they force us to consider, why do we like the games we do? It gives us reasons to stop and think, why do we value games, and what do we value in them? If we don't care for a nominee or a winner, why is that? Why are we having this strong reaction that we're having? What does it tell us about our own interests in the games we like? Perhaps it challenges us to think deeper about game design, which can mature our appreciation for the hobby. Maybe it compels us to talk all the louder and praise the works of games that haven't gotten the recognition that we think they deserve. It's hard to say what the specific effects are, but I think the answer lies somewhere in a combination of all these ideas that were shared. And isn't that true? The answer generally to these topics lies somewhere in the middle. This is echoed in our final video contribution from Sweethearts or Rivals. They also propose a possible future table talk topic. Take a listen and see what you think and let me know in the comments below. But until the next episode, thanks for watching.
Hi Rodney and Watch It Played viewers. In the last couple of years, I find to get really curious about who gets nominated for these awards and then also to see the final outcomes. Because part of the hobby for me is to research the games, all kinds of different games, so this gives me a little bit more information for that process. Also, I don't really find that the awards influence my buying dollar very much. The only thing that does is actually seeing a game in action.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's funny to look at our collection and see how many of the nominations and winners we do have in our collection, which we purchased most of them before we even knew about the Spiel des Jahres and the Dice Tower Awards and such like that. But I think that does, in our opinion, give the awards some merit, I find.
Alright, so awards are going to offer an opinion about the game, just like a reviewer. And for that opinion to have any meaning, you need to know the reasons behind it. And then you got to take a look at those reasons and see how similar or how different they are to your own tastes in games. And that's only going to come through a lot of research and playing a lot of games and getting to know what you like. And then once you figure that out, then you can look at those awards and go, okay, those awards right there, they have a similar taste in games. And even then, like Charlotte was saying, it's just going to pique interest, and then we're going to have to do some research, see the game in action. So I don't think awards directly influence my spending habits, but they do pique my interest, and maybe bring awareness of that game where previously I hadn't known it was there. Very interesting topic, Rodney. I think you should almost have a follow-up table talk episode about reviewers and maybe how much influence they have over the hobby as well.